Back in the garage today. Back in the garage today. What's going on, guys? Back in the garage today working on my 2021 KTM 890 Adventure R, where I'm going to show you how to check your valves and maybe how to adjust your valves depending on the title of the video. Same thing for the other 790, 890, 901 model of KTM Husqvarna bikes that are out. It's gonna be the same process. The first thing you need to do though is remove your fuel tank. I've already done a video on that. I'm gonna link that up there. So let's hop into it. Okay, so over here on the right hand side of the bike with the tank removed, your bike may look a little different than mine. I deleted the charcoal canister, so there should be a fuel valve or a fuel vapor valve here. We don't have it. Either way, we do need to cut the zip tie, get it out of the way. You would also have to unplug yours. Obviously mine already is has a dongle in there, so if you do have it, I'm going to show it up on screen. Just disconnect that and remove it. Next we're going to move on to these two screws, which you can use either an 8mm or a T30 Torx bit. Now all we want to do is just get this hanger out of the way. Actually, we are going to cut, hopefully you guys can see it, we're going to cut this zip tie down here too. Just being careful not to cut any of our wires. And really all we're looking to do is just get this damn thing out of our way. We could unplug, we take some other stuff off the hanger here if we wanted to. We're just going to pull it out of the way for right now and we should be good. Okay, so now as we look down inside here, we see we have a screw here holding the ignition coil in. That is an 8mm or a T30 Torx bit. We're just going to use an 8mm socket, get that started. And with the screw removed, now we're just going to remove the ignition coil by lifting up. One thing I like to do is just get a screwdriver in here. Sometimes you can get pops up out of place, and just let this hang to the side for right now. All right, next up we are going to remove the spark plug. You're going to need a 14mm deep well socket. I've got mine on a bit of a universal here, just makes it a little bit easier to get in and out, though you could probably get a straight one on there. And drop this down in, loosen that up. And with it all the way loosened up, now I'm just going to take a little magnet, drop down here, grab the spark plug, and you can see the spark plug. And this one actually looks pretty good. We've got, I'll put the actual mileage up on the screen. I think we're sitting around 12,000 some miles on the bike. Nice and brown, looking nice, but we are going to replace it here in a moment. All right, so we're working our way over to the left-hand side of the bike. We're going to cut this zip tie here, and then we're going to go ahead and disconnect the coil wire. And then we're going to figure out how to get if we look down in here, hopefully you guys can see it, on this coil pack, same sort of deal. We're going to get an 8mm socket on there and get that removed. It looks a little tight, but it's actually not awful. It's actually a little bit easier to access from the other side of the bike. And with that removed, same thing with this coil pack. We're going to pop it up out of place. So I got it started there. There we go. And we're just going to have to fish it up out of here. The wiring harness kind of in the way. I'm going to cut this zip tie too. Give me a little bit more room. Okay, so because everything's so tight, I'm going to show you a close-up on two screws from the other side that I took out. I want to loosen up this ABS module just to give me a little more space. There's a screw on this side too, but I have to clip this zip tie here on this cable first because I want to get this screw out right here, and that was just blocking it. The zip tie was. We pull this out. Now I can get a little bit of clearance. Hopefully you guys can see on camera me moving it there. I got a little bit of clearance and I can lift this ABS unit up. Let me show you. With these two screws over here removed, these two over here removed, and this one, now this has a little bit of movement and I can push it up a little bit, which should make it a little bit easier to get the coil out. Now the coil removed from this side, And then we need our 14 millimeter because we're going to go back over and remove the spark plug just like we did from the other side. To me, it's just a little bit easier to access it from the right hand side of the bike. Drop this down in. And here is what the left-hand plug looks like. A little bit darker, but still not black. Alright, so now we're moving back up to the top of the bike. We have again, it's a Torx 30 or 8 millimeter bolt here on the battery box. And we also have one over on this side. We're going to loosen up and remove both of these. Didn't realize I wasn't recording, but right here we're going to use a T30 bit to remove this screw. We also have this metal bracket, and then we're just going to unplug this connector. Okay, so one thing I did off camera, I got a zip tie, and I zip tied some of the wires and stuff back right here. And over here on this side, I went ahead and disconnected the coil that was on the bracket, and I zip tied some of the stuff back here to get this out of the way, because next up we're going to go to removing the valve cover. While we removed this bracket earlier, next thing we're going to do is just pull this breather out. Just be careful, you don't want to damage the O-ring, and just kind of leave it out of the way for the moment. All right, so on the valve cover, we have 4 10 millimeter bolts we need to remove. All right, so with all 4 valve cover bolts removed, now we actually need to remove the valve cover. We'll do that by lifting up. And we just want to be careful, because the last thing we want to do is damage our valve cover gasket, because with any luck, we'll be able to reuse this one. Just kind of helped it out from the other side there. And go ahead, get it out of place. We're going to set it to the side. All right, so now we have the spark plug inserts here. Just be real careful. We're going to pop up this one on this side. We're also going to clean these while they're off the bike. You see the dirt around there? And notice this O-ring. Sometimes it will stick to the bottom of the valve cover. That's okay. Just be cognizant that you know where it's at. Back over here on the left-hand side of the bike, we're going to use a 14 millimeter Allen and remove the screw plug. It is just plastic, so be careful. And there is an O-ring on the back of it. Yeah, it came off. Set that aside. All right, so a cameraman would be nice here, but essentially what we're going to try to do, and I'll show you a close-up here in a minute, is I'm going to reach across and I'm going to turn the motor over, and I want to align the markings on here so I get this thing to top dead center. I guess I should mention I'm turning the motor in a counterclockwise manner. Okay, so I just went past my marking there. I see it now. I'm trying to get it top dead center on cylinder 1, so I want the marking to line up across here on the one that says OT1. We're gonna have to crank it back around. So there's OT2, there's OT1. Man, this is tough to see. We might end up having, I'm probably gonna have to put a photo up of OT1. So there's a little marking on the right cam over here. There's a little marking on the left cam here. I'll put a photo up of it so you can see it, but we want those markings right across from each other. All right, so I've got a little bit of good news, bad news situation right now. Good news is you guys are gonna get a full video on how to adjust the valves, because the bad news is I actually have to adjust the damn valves. So let me show you how to check them real quick, and then I'm going to show you the rest of the process to check them on cylinder 2, and then we got to remove camshafts and put new shims in, all that fun stuff. All right, so I'm going to start with the intake to show you how to check this. So we're going to run it between the cam and the cam lever. We're going to run, you just need a set of feeler gauges. This calls, and I'll put all this stuff up on the screen, it calls for 0.10 to 0.15 millimeter clearance. So this is the thinnest, and when I try to run that through, it just doesn't go. So if I drop down to a 0.76, you can see it goes through. So that tells us the intake is tight and we're gonna have to adjust it. If you're trying to figure out the difference between the intake and the exhaust, It's the same on every single motorcycle. The intake valves are going to be closest to your air intake, so our air box is back here. Your exhaust valves are going to be closest to your exhaust. Your exhaust is, I can't get my finger in here to show, but your exhaust is in the front of the bike. So now we're going to check the exhaust. I can tell you they're within spec, but I am going to loosen them up a little bit. Okay, so I should mention, while I only showed checking it here, you do have a cam and cam lever here on the other side you need to check as well. You just can't get a camera in there. Now we're going to check the exhaust. Same thing here. I'm going to show you on this one. I've already checked this one before. So this calls for 0.15 millimeter to 0.20 millimeter. This is our 0.15 feeler gauge. I'm actually going to put it in backward just because it's a little bit easier. It fits. But if I go up to the next size I have, which is a 0.178, it's tight and it won't go. And since it calls for up to 0.20, I'm going to go ahead and put some thinner shims in. Most of the time what's going to happen is these valves are going to tighten over time, so we're just going to run them not on the loose side, but on the loose side of the specification, still within range. Now we've got to go around to the other side of the bike, get this thing to top dead center on cylinder 2, check it, and then we can go through the process to actually remove the cam bridge and the cams. All right, so much like I did before, I'm going to turn the motor over, and now I'm going to align it to OT2 so we can check cylinder 2. I see the dot there. I'm getting close. Actually, if I zoom in here on my phone, I can get it. You see the dot there. You see the other dot right there. It's hard to see where it says OT2, but it is on there. All right, next thing I need to do is remove this cam lever clip. It's this red clip here. See if I can get that pulled up out of there. This is what the cam lever clip looks removed. We're just going to set that to the side right now. All right, so I went through the same process over here on cylinder 2. Obviously, you have your 2 intakes here. You have your 2 exhaust valves here. We are going to have to make some adjustments on the intakes. I wrote everything down. Now here we'll remove the cam lever clip. I can't get the camera in here, but I'll put a picture up. You just need to reach in there with your finger and move the cam lever over here on the exhaust side, kind of pull it towards you to the right. And now we're going to go through the process to actually remove the bridge up here and remove the cams and all that fun stuff so we can get into adjusting it. So I guess I should mention, part of the process is you need to start on top dead center 2, which is where we are, and go through what we just went through. Now we're going to turn this thing back around and put it on top dead center for cylinder 1 like we did before. So we want the OT1 across here. I'm going to do that real quick by turning the motor over, and then we'll move on to the next step. All right, so with the motor in top dead center on cylinder 1, we're going to come down here. This is a 10 millimeter, and it has a washer on the back of it. We're going to remove this bolt.
You're not going to let the fans know I stopped by to supervise?
I don't know if they can hear you on my mic, but now I got Pete here helping me out a little bit. Now with that removed, now we're going to use this KTM specific screw. I'll put the part number up on the screen. We're going to run this in, and what that is going to do is it's going to lock the cams in place. All right, so with the bolt in place, one thing I like to do, and since Pete's here, it makes it a little bit easier, is just go ahead and try to rotate the engine a little bit. Don't try to force it. If it doesn't move, it means this thing's locked into place correctly, and now we can get to removing the camshafts. All right, so one thing I did forget we got to do first, we got to remove the cam chain tensioner. We are going to take a 5 millimeter Allen and just break this loose. We're not going to take it out. It'll make sense later. All right, with the 19 millimeter socket or wrench, we're going to remove the plug here. Now, your cam chain tensioner should have an O-ring around it. If it doesn't, reach back up in there and get it out. This one is coming out with an O-ring. I'll show you how to reset this before we put it back in. Okay, so there are the 18 different screws that we had to take out of the cam bridge. And now as we come back up here, I'm not really gonna be able to show this on camera. Actually, yes I am. Just gonna lift the cam bridge up out of place. It is gonna be a little hard. Oh, there we go. Lift that up out of place, and we're just gonna set that out of the way for the moment. And now as we come back over here, you can see we've got our cams. I'm gonna pull these out, set them aside. Ooh, they are showing some wear. Huh. Well, that's what these things are kind of known for. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we'll get them up out of here and take a look at them. All right, so this is the exhaust cam. Hopefully the camera's picking up the scratches and stuff on here. I'm gonna have to reach out to KTM, see if there's any way we can get this replaced. I know the warranty's technically out, but obviously this is a known problem. This is the intake, same sort of deal. It's all scratched up. And yeah, can't say I'm overly surprised. All right, so fast forward about a week and a half. I pulled the cams out. I took them over to the KTM dealership. They said most of them they've seen have been worse than that. I don't really know what that means. These have 12,500 miles on them. I don't think they should look like this. So they weren't gonna warranty them. I just went ahead and bought brand new cams. They're going back in this bike. I'm not gonna get into the debate over it. Those things do retail for right around 600 bucks for the pair. I'll show you a close-up of the receipt. My price, I get a pretty good deal. They're probably a little less than 400 before taxes. We're gonna do a little side-by-side comparison, and then we're gonna finish adjusting these valves and slap this engine back together. All right, so I've got the exhaust cam here. You can see the wear on the lobes. Is it the worst of all time? No, and I'll get some photos. It'll be a little bit easier to see. And we also have the intake cam here. Same deal. It's just, I mean, even on here, it's showing far more scratching than I would like to see. Out of these, I am gonna have to rob this piece off here. This little plastic piece, we'll pop it out here in a second. All I'm gonna do is just got a couple little tabs on here. We're gonna pop this out and put it on the other one, but let's open up the new cams. So this is the exhaust, and this is what a nice cam should look like. I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at these part numbers on here. I'm curious if they're the same. It is an updated part number, so maybe that means this one will last a little longer. We'll get some side-by-side photos. Let me get the intake opened up next. It does, I mean, it is stamped with a different number on it, so if I take a look at the numbers, yeah, it's got different part numbers on it, so we're gonna slap these in and see how they do. All right, now, so unfortunately for me at this point, I'm just gonna have to go off the measurements I made a week and a half ago, even knowing that the cams I'm gonna put in, it's probably gonna measure a little bit different now because we're putting in different cams. So I'm just gonna have to make a guess. I'm gonna go ahead and pop the shims in. I'm gonna show you how to do that just real quickly and what shims you need. Your sizes are gonna vary when it comes to the thickness based off the measurements you got earlier while you were checking the valve clearance. So let's get the shim kit out. Let's get some shims swapped out. And then I'll show you how to go through the process to check it, and reassemble, and all that fun stuff. Okay, so let's take a look right here. You're gonna lift up on the cam lever, and then underneath there, I'm gonna put a photo up. There's a little shim. All we're gonna do right there is we're just gonna take a little magnet and lift that up, check the thickness on it, and then put the new one in. Now, sometimes you'll get lucky and they'll stamp the thickness on here, but even if they do, I don't like to trust it. I like to pull out my trusty calipers, clamp down. I can see that this one is showing 2.07 on there, but it's good to know the exact number because now we're gonna go into our shim kit, and based off of our measurements that we got for clearance earlier, we're either gonna size up or size down this shim. In our case, we're gonna have to go with a little bit thinner one. We're gonna do that for every single valve that was out of spec, and then we'll get to reassembling. So we're gonna do this for all 8 of them, or however many you need to change. In my case, it's gonna be the intakes, and I might loosen up a couple of the exhaust valves. Just something I wanna mention quickly, once you replace the shim in each case, except over here where the cam levers are out of the way on the exhaust here on cylinder 2, once you're done replacing it, and you're just gonna reach back in and you're gonna flip the cam lever back down so it covers up the shim. All right, so I had to make some educated guesses on the shim sizes. One thing I did off camera is I put the intake cam back in. I can only check it on cylinder 1, so I checked, it was way too loose, adjusted the shims, and then I kind of did the same with whatever my original measurements were here and just adjusted based on 1. Again, it's a guess, and we are gonna have to check it, but in order to check it, we actually have to get the cams back inside the engine. Keep in mind the cam levers here on the exhaust on cylinder 2 are previously pushed out of the way from when we disassembled it. Now we need our, in my case, new exhaust cam. I think I said exhaust earlier, I didn't get too confused. And we're just gonna pull a chain, timing chain back out, And then like we did before, because we're on cylinder, or because we're at top dead center on cylinder 1, we're gonna find our marking there for OT1 and just try to get this thing in here as close as we can just to get started. I really wish they would have put that stamp on there a little bit bolder, but it's what it is. Okay, so we ought to be pretty close right there. Again, pretty close is not good enough, but just to get us started somewhere. All right, so next up we're gonna take our intake cam. We're gonna find the marking on it. It's not the dot, it's the line on it. We've got our, again, I've got a new one, so I transferred this plastic piece over. And again, we're gonna eyeball it and try to get it close here. I'm gonna mess with this for a minute because it is gonna take me a little bit of time. All right, so after I almost went blind trying to line those two lines up, next we're gonna put the bridge back down here. It does have a balance shaft here. So what we're gonna attempt to do, there's teeth on here. When we get this mounted, hopefully you guys can see this. There's a line in across there. We want that to be parallel to the side of the cylinder. All right, so with the cam bridge in place and the balance shaft, I'll put a picture up there on there. Now we're just gonna take all these bolts, start working them in. All I'm doing is just getting them started. Once I get them all started and snugged down a little bit, then from the inside of each of the cam bridge to the outside, you're gonna torque them down to 10 Newton meters. All right, so I wasn't recording, but what I did, this was fully extended. You're gonna just clamp, I like clamping it down in a vise, and basically what you wanna do is compress it all the way down. And if you do it right, it won't expand back out. If you go too far, it'll expand out. If you don't go far enough, it'll expand back out. But this is what your cam chain tensioner is gonna look like collapsed. Now we're gonna go back to putting this in the motor. All right, cam chain tensioner and O-ring. It's gonna push in. We're gonna take our cap here, our nut. Just gonna run this down. We're gonna torque this down to 24 Newton meters. Okay, so next up, we need to release the cam chain tensioner. KTM's got a special tool. I've used some picks, I've used all sorts of things to do this. Because this one's dead on, we might even just be able to get it with a screwdriver. All right, so unfortunately, the only thing I can tell you on this is you'll feel it release, you'll hear it kind of click, and you can see now we actually have some tension on the timing chain. And then you can just kind of feel up in there and see that it's not moving around, it's fully depressed. You'll feel the pressure on it. I'll put the torque spec back up on this, but it's just this little cap. It just don't, I wouldn't bother necessarily with the torque wrench, just snug it up, make sure you don't damage that O-ring when you're putting it back on. Now, like we did before, we've got the 15mm socket on here. I'm gonna turn this over a few times, get it back to top dead center on one, and then check my valve clearance once again, just to double check. We're also gonna check that this balancer is actually in its proper place, and then we'll move on to cylinder 2. Let me go ahead and get this turned over and back around. All right, so I checked the valve clearance on cylinder 1. It's good. If you want, you can put the holder back in to hold it in place. I didn't really think it was necessary. The other thing we want to do is check this balancer shaft. It's tough to see, but that line is parallel with the top of the cylinder. We're good there. Next, we're going to rotate the engine around once again and get it at top dead center on cylinder 2, and then check the intake and exhaust valves on cylinder 2. All right, so good news, cylinder 2 is also within spec. All right, so with it on top dead center on cylinder 2, we're gonna reach down in here and we're gonna move the cam levers over, and then we're gonna put the clip back in, which is this thing. And hopefully you can see in there the cam lever clips back in place. It won't go back into place if you don't get the cam levers moved over into position right. All right, next up, we are gonna run the ignition plug back in. I believe this is 8 Newton meters. If I'm wrong, I'll correct that on the screen. And while we're standing down here on the bottom part of the engine, we're gonna put our screw that had the washer back in, and where we put the lock bolt earlier, and we're gonna torque that down to just 15 Newton meters. All right, so next up, we're gonna insert the spark plug shaft inserts. I've got a little bit of silicone, you can use grease, whatever. If they're dirty, like mine were, clean them before you put them back in. There's no sense in reassembling anything dirty, they'll just snap right back into place. There we go. Next thing you want to do, go around. This one's pretty clean, but we're going to double check everything. Go around and make sure the top of the cylinder head where that valve gasket is going to be meeting the metal is perfectly clean, like you can eat off of it. All right, so with our valve cover, I went ahead and cleaned mine all up. We got the gasket in place. I went ahead, there's a little bit of high temp silicone on both the half moons on this side. I'll show you a picture of the other side. And now I also put some on the gaskets that go around the bolts there, just to help hold them in place a little bit. Now we're just gonna kind of feed this thing in and get it in place. All right, so I got the valve cover in place. Go around and look everywhere. Make sure your valve cover is actually seated up in, or your gasket's actually seated up in the valve cover. I did have a little bit of trouble getting this on. That cam clip kept hitting, so might save you a minute or two, letting you know to watch out for that when you go to put it on. Make sure that's out of your way, make life a little bit easier. Next, we're gonna take our 4 valve cover bolts and we're gonna torque these down to 10 Newton meters. All right, so with the valve cover torqued back down, now we're gonna get the breather hose in, put a little bit of oil on that gasket or O-ring. I got a little bit of lightweight blue Loctite on this T30 bolt, and we're gonna run this bracket back in here with this switch on it. 8 Newton meters is the torque spec. You can obviously tell I'm perfectly torquing it down. Yeah, we'll mess with these plugs here in a few minutes. All right, next up, spark plugs going in. We're gonna use our 14 millimeter deep well socket. Just gonna ease it down in there. All right, so it calls for 11 Newton meters. I normally just like to run them down and then just feel the crush washer crush. Always start them by hand though, so you don't take the chance of cross threading anything. All right, got cylinder number 1 done. Now we're gonna move over to cylinder number 2 and do the same exact thing. All right, so with both plugs in, next thing we're gonna do is get our ignition coil mounted over here on cylinder 1. I think it was easier for me to feed it in from this side originally. Make sure it's good and cleaned up before you put it back in there. Trying to feed the plug through. Get it pressed down into place. Get it lined up, and then you take your screw you took out earlier. Get that threaded down in. I believe it's 8 Newton meters, but in this case, I'm just gonna snug this thing down. I guess I should have said what dielectric grease is. I've talked about this in previous videos. Basically, put it on your electrical connections. It's gonna keep dirt, water, and stuff out to keep you from having any electrical issues, especially when you're out riding this thing in harsh conditions. All right, so over here on cylinder 2, you get the coil pack in here. Same thing, torque it down and torque the bolt down, and then we're just gonna get this little bracket hooked back up here and get some wires out of the way, and we're kind of done. All right, next thing I'm gonna do, which again the book didn't call for, I'm going to put the ABS module back in. It's got 3 fasteners that go in here. You got 1, 2 on this side and 1 on this side. I'll put a torque spec up, but honestly I'm just gonna tighten them down. One other thing, if you did like I did and you cut this zip line here to make room to get to that bolt to remove the ABS module, just make sure you put a new one back on here. Pretty straightforward. All right, next we gotta get this bracket hung up, and then we're just gonna get some zip ties and zip tie some of these connectors back up here. All right, so we need to make sure we get the 2 8 millimeter bolts back in to hold the battery box, get that done. And then as we look down here on the side, remember we cut some zip ties at the beginning. There's no real right or wrong. Just use the number of zip ties you feel like are necessary to get that stuff up out of the way, and also make sure you don't have any weird kinks or binds in any of the cables. Coming over to the other side of the bike, same thing, just get some zip ties and get those cables up off of the valve cover and just kind of out of the way. All right, so another outfit because it's another day. I did just change the oil this morning. I went ahead and reset the service light. I'll show you guys how to do that in just a second. Next thing I need to do is put the tank and the skid plate back on, get all my connectors hooked back up. Again, refer to the video for how to remove and put the tank back on. Once that's done, we're gonna come back and it's moment of truth, start it up and see how she runs. All right, so now we need to reset the service light. We'll do that by turning on the switch, and then we'll hit our set button, and we'll scroll down so settings are highlighted, and then we're gonna hold down on the up and down keys for about 5 seconds. And now we can set it at whatever we want to set it by hitting the set button. So I'm going to set mine, we're going to call it, actually we'll run it all the way up to the 9,300 miles. We can run it up to 9,000 miles or 12 months. Set it to whatever you feel comfortable setting it with. All right, we got it on boost. Let's see if we can get her to go. It runs. Still sounds like crap, just like it always does, but it does run. All right, guys, so as you just heard, the bike runs. So that's kind of it for this job. Kind of a long video, but that is how you change the spark plugs, check the valves, and adjust the valves on one of these 790, 890, 901 Husqvarna or KTM models. Obviously, I did replace the camshafts. Will you have to? It's up to you. Did I need to? I don't know, but there's a little bit too much wear for me, and for 400 bucks, and knowing I don't have to take this thing apart again for a while, I'm happy with the decision I made. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider that subscribe button, because if you like motorcycles, well, this is the place to be. If you have any questions about anything, let me know down in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. I'll also put some links to some of the parts and tools I use down there, so hopefully that's helpful. And as always, I'll talk to you again soon. So I just got back from taking it out on like a 60-mile adventure ride. Good mix of pavement and off-road. Oh my God, it's awesome. It's so much fun. I miss riding this bike.